Hey, I'm Tommy Colletti. I'm here at the Music Zoo today. It is the day before the Big Four at Yankee Stadium here with Kerry King from Slayer. Thanks for showing up, being here. Appreciate it.
I really could have used a shot.
We'll get you one.
I'm feeling it now. It's like, man, a shot would be really good.
It's still mid-afternoon, so you're all right, right?
Dude, my time zone's so fucked up. I think, even though tomorrow's the Big Four, I think tomorrow I catch up on my sleep before I go there. Because like yesterday I had to do the Best Buy clinic thing, the Middle Masters thing we did, and I had to get up for sound check, and today I had to get up to get out here. And tomorrow it's a Big Four, but I don't have to get up.
You're not there. You're not there early, sound check or anything like that?
Like
oh, that's great.
I'm not going to sound check.
Just go and do it. I wanted to talk to you about influences, how you started playing, what got you into the guitar originally, whether it was a band or a guitar player or a friend that was just like playing the guitar or whatever.
None of the above, man. I started playing guitar for the most uncool reason probably anybody's ever given. When I was 13, my dad wanted me to get a hobby. He wanted to keep me out of trouble, keep me out of the wrong circles. And it's really questionable if that worked. Not back then, but now. Back then it did keep me out of the circles because I'd sit and play and not get in trouble. But now, I hang out with Zach Wilde and serious bad influences, Marilyn Manson. We've gotten in trouble, but hey, living out of it.
Okay, and then as soon as you got into it, were you immediately into metal, or were you into
No.
was it Mary Had a Little Lamb in the beginning, or?
Oh, dude, I played Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and the first year I went through books, and then I realized that books. wasn't going to be a session musician. I wasn't going to be some dude that comes in to fill a role. So I got out of the reading music and stuff like that. You put a book in front of me and I'd have no idea. You might as well show me alien scriptures. Because I realized, I can learn what I need to learn without reading music. Basically you can do it by ear once you get the fundamentals down. And
then once you got to the point where you started writing your own tunes, were you writing riffs and recording them into a tape recorder, or like how
I still record into a tape recorder. That's one of the things where, Jeff writes the other segment of music, and he got into early on working with a drum machine. So when he comes with a song, it's got guitar, bass, drums. Here you go, learn it, Dave. I still, like on the last record, I would bring in a fucking cassette tape, and I'm like, wow, how are we going to play this? There's nothing there that would play it. I had to bring one from home the next day.
But at least it's there, because I know that there's people now that are using their their phones.
That's why I do that too.
Or you could call your home phone. You get an idea, you call your own voicemail or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen people lose that stuff. They're just like, yeah, I lost everything. It's all gone. I don't know where it went. At least
I've never lost a phone. Well, I did lose a phone a while back. I left it in Europe. But I never lost a phone other than that until like last night. I don't know where it is. But I had two, luckily, and that's the one without the questionable pictures in it. So my wife's not pissed.
Now, BC Rich, when you started playing BC Rich, as long as I can remember, you've been playing those guitars. Was that your first electric guitar, BC Rich, or did it start somewhere else before that?
Well, I had two histories with BC. I was with BC from the beginning till 89, 90. And the reason I left is because the family sold rights to somebody, I think, back east here. I think it was a company called Class Axe.
Okay.
And although he wanted me to keep playing BC Riches, he didn't have the means to make Neck Through Bodies, and that's all I've ever played.
Right.
So that was my 10-year stint with ESP, who were really good to me, and I'm still good friends with them. I like dealing with all my endorsers personally, Business
Sure.
stuff gets dealt through the managers, but I have, like, all the children of Marshall's phone numbers in my phone, I call them anytime I want.
Right.
And I'm like the Marshall family, I feel like I'm part of them.
Sure.
And
sure.
It's cool, because you get to be personal with the guys who are giving you tons of shit. And I put it everywhere. That's all I play. I only endorse what I play, like a lot of people don't. And it's cool having that relationship with people that I idolized way back when. And then I went back to BC in probably 98, 99, somewhere around there. And that's when the family got it back.
Right.
And I made him suck my cock for a couple of years. I was really pissed at how it went down the first time, because it was like I was having a Mockingbird made, you know, really nice Mockingbird Koa natural that's just gonna have, you know, for like a studio guitar. And I got a call one day that, you know, shit's going down, or we're not gonna make BC Riches anymore, and if you want this guitar, you got to come down and buy it. And I wasn't made of money then, you know, I'm not made of money now. But, you know, to come up with several $100s in a couple days, it's like, I said, if you give me till whatever day, like, you know, say they wanted it tomorrow, like, I said, if I could get it the next day, I can swing it. And they sold the motherfucker.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so I pretty much said I'm never going to fucking play them again. And then the family got it back, and then again, you know, it's how the story all makes sense. They are like my family, you know, and right. Bernie would hit me up at the NAMM show every year, and I wasn't contracted to ESP at that time, and I just said, listen, make me a guitar, and if I like it, you know, let's go. Right. And that's what we did.
Now what about like the difference for you between like a Kaler and a Floyd Rose or something? I know you're a Kaler guy, but
either one or the other.
Is there a reason that you're pulled more to the Kaler than the Floyd Rose? Like something
I never understood why somebody would want to cut the back end of a string off.
Right.
That's it.
Okay. Other than that,
and you learn on one or you learn on the other. And I know Dime was a big Floyd guy. Right. But for me to play a Floyd now, I would have to completely restructure how I pick, because a Kaler sits up and the Floyd's flat.
Sure. And the Floyd, unless you adjust it right, you put your hand on it, you just like a warped record, you know, unless you have it pulled all the way back. And the Kaler, you kind of get away with it without.
I don't really, you know, my hand's not 10 pounds when it's on my guitar. Basically just rests there.
Right.
But, you know, instead of picking like this, I would have to pick like that to muffle shit correctly.
Wasn't there a point with Kaler as well where like the company was like, if I remember correctly, there was a point where they were building golf clubs or something.
Oh yeah, yeah, he definitely did.
Yeah, and then it just kind of like, because I remember for us, we weren't able to get Kalers for at least like 6 or 7 years, and then all of a sudden it came back in the loop and we were able to get
it was tough. Stuff. I'm lucky to be who I am because I have access to that stuff.
Right.
If I needed one, it wouldn't
appear.
Yeah, it would magically show up. But yeah, I remember that.
So now, before we flipped the camera on, we were talking about influences and stuff, and we talked about who you weren't into. What about who, like as a teenager, that you were just like, that's what I want to do?
By the time that I played and, you know, was good enough to learn stuff, the obvious first one would be Van Halen. Right. You know, I had 2 older sisters, so I didn't have any hard rock metal influences above me. But Van Halen, you know, when he used to play guitar, he was an ass kicker. It was awesome. I got to see him like 6 times on the first 3 records.
He did, and those were the tours to see. Maybe even Fair Warning as well. But was it Women and Children First was Black Sabbath, right? They were opening for Sabbath or somewhere around there.
I don't know.
I know that
because I wasn't into heavy music yet.
Okay.
It took me a while, and my entrance to heavy music was probably radio in LA. You know, they'd play like Judas Priest, they'd play Breaking the Law and Living After Midnight, which are the most poppy songs they probably ever did.
Right.
But that introduced me to them, and I'm like, oh, 2 guitars, that's cool. You know, the singer's badass. And you buy British Steel and realize there's Rapid Fire on there and Steeler, and then you go and buy Unleashed in the East, and you got great versions of all the older stuff.
Right.
So I had to like learn backwards on some things.
And then now, as time has gone on, right, you've done 25 years worth of records at this point, somewhere in the neighborhood. How do you feel that maybe to you, your sound, you've been changing your sound over time? I was watching a video with you recently where you were saying that you definitely had favorite producers and recordings through the years. You know, like, when you listen to sound now, does it change? Is it the same sound that you dial in, that you were dialing in the 80s, or is it completely different? Or the way that you approach, like, this is my sound now for this record or whatever, has it changed?
It's very similar. The only thing that's changed majorly is how I achieve it. Like my signature head from Marshall, when we went down this road, I said, well, if you don't want to make a production model, I'm not interested. Because I remember when Zach's head came out, and I know Zach, I'm friends with Zach, I've known Zach for a long time, and I'm pretty tight with Marshall. I couldn't get one.
A Zach head.
I couldn't get one.
I know the Randy Rhoads heads were hard for us to get too. The people that got them were lucky.
I guess there was like 400 or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm connected. And I could not get one.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me. So when mine came around, I said, listen, I don't want kids 2 days after they come out to pay 3 times what they're worth just so they can have it.
Right.
You know, I want them to be able to use it and not just put it in a closet, you know, because it's worth something. And it's funny that a lot of my friends in the biz have them, like the Mastodon guitar player uses them,
right.
the In Flames guy used to use them. So it's really cool that I put out a product that my friends like too. But when we made that head, I made it based on the idea of going to South America, for instance. Because a lot of times, you know, if you don't plan it correctly, your stuff might get held up in customs. And you got to go through, you know, some village in South America looking for something to make your gargantuan sound.
Right.
So the way this head's made, I can plug in and do a show. I'd like to have a wah, but
right.
I can play a show with just that.
Yeah. And I've heard stuff disappears, just like you were saying, like in those South American tours and different tours, all of a sudden your equipment doesn't arrive or it's on a different plane or whatever.
Yeah, so my head's got a built-in gate, and it's got essentially what used to be my 10-band EQ built into it. So now I don't need that piece anymore.
Right.
Even though I think Dunlop still puts it out, I used it for probably 20 years until I incorporated it into my head.
If, talking about producers and stuff like that, when you did the Beastie Boys thing.
Gary Holt, looking for the king.
When you did the Beastie Boys thing, did you know when Rick brought you in that like No Sleep Till Brooklyn was going to be huge? Or was you just like, what the fuck is this? You know, like, why
I got paid $200 for that. You know, looking back, so they give me a portion of a percent. You know, I wouldn't be having this conversation right now. I'd be owning this fucking island.
Was that in New York or was it in LA when that went down?
I think it was LA.
It was, okay. Because I know they're New York guys, obviously. So I was just wondering if you were here for that.
Yeah, we were doing Rain and Blood, and they were doing License to Ill.
Sick.
And I think the whole premise was come in, you know, do this. What's the right word? Do this. Not like a joke lead, but you know, something that was like overkill. You know,
right.
Not like the band, but you know, just like because it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek, you know, type of song.
Right.
So I just made this horrible lead that fits really well in that song.
Totally. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Well, I appreciate you coming out. Tomorrow, obviously, huge day for you. So there's another question. For us, New Yorkers, Yankee Stadium, even though it's now new Yankee Stadium, is a huge thing. At this point in your life, playing a gig like this, is it just like another gig, or is this like, fuck, I'm playing Yankee Stadium, it's awesome?
Both. I'm curious to see it, actually.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. The food's great. You can eat your way through the entire place. And, you know,
well, I won't be around that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Shut the fuck up.
Not me. His phone.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm curious to see where the stage is going to be. So I know they've had like, what, 1 or 2 shows there only so far?
Yeah, McCartney played there recently. I don't know who else has played there recently.
So I think somebody said Jay-Z, maybe?
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right, at the beginning of the summer.
Yeah, I have no idea. You know, I don't know what to expect, but you know, it's going to be a New York show. It's going to be off the hook.
Yeah, man. It's going to be awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming down.
Fuck yeah.
Thanks for everything.